Hello and welcome to Lantern Lab. I'm here at the kitchen table today, which is where I think most people start working on their first lantern. And I've got a 200A here, which lights up and burns adequately well, but is pretty faded looking and dirty and needs a cleanup. So today I'm going to disassemble this lantern, clean up the insides, clean up all the exterior, and put it back together. Anyway, the first step is to remove the bail, and we want to be a little bit careful because these rust into place sometimes. And it's easy to chip the porcelain on the vent. Now the vent nut, and the vent itself, and the globe. Now we need our first tool, a 7/16 inch wrench, and we will remove the nut that holds the burner frame. With the burner frame removed, we can get the generator, again with the 7/16 inch wrench. And remember to turn the cleaning knob up to get the generator off. Now easy enough to get the collar, screwdriver to take off the valve knob. Now, to get the valve out of the fount is a big job, and some people use a vise or strap wrenches or get a friend. I'm going to show you what I've discovered is the easiest way. I've taken a 19/32 inch socket, although I don't think the size is terribly important, and I've cut a groove in it, and that groove fits right over the valve. I originally made this to help me take apart 220 lanterns, and it makes that job a lot easier. And what I'm going to use to make this even easier is an impact gun. And a lot of times, the repeated sudden impacts of the gun make removing something that's very tight much easier. Something important here, watch out where your thumb is. The first time I ever did this, the valve came around and hit my thumb, and I thought I'd broken my hand. Hold tightly onto the fount. And that is the fuel air tube. The fuel air tube comes off with a 5/16 inch wrench. Now we can turn our attention to the burner frame. The burner comes out with a 5/8 inch wrench. There's a little nut down here, which just has to be loosened. If this is sticky, you can use a little heat. Once that's loosened, the burner just unscrews. There's the burner, the vent stud, the U-tube, and the Venturi tube, which leaves us the air tube in the burner frame. And a lot of people say, oh, the air tube's fine, I blew it out with air, and that is just not acceptable. That's not going to get that air tube cleaned out. What you need to do is take something, I like to use a plastic zip tie, and stick it up in the air tube and twirl it around and find if a spider had made its nest inside. Okay, now we're down to what I really wanted to do, which is polish up the fount on this lantern, which is in pretty good shape, but dirty. It still has most of its paint. And we're going to do that with this Mcguire's car wash kit. It's a paint restoration kit and includes polishing, compound, and good wax. So, after the break, I'll have that all cleaned up and we'll put this lantern back together. It's not terribly important that the fuel air tube look real great because nobody's going to see it anyway, but it does have to operate correctly. You'll notice that there are 3 holes, and we're going to take the blowgun and blow through all of them. So I'll blow through here with the other 2 holes open. Careful not to get any of this in your eyes. I'll go from the other direction, leaving the other 2 open. I'll blow through the middle one, leaving the other 2 open. And now the same thing plugging one hole and then the other. And that ensures that all the passages inside the fuel air tube are clear. And we're back. You can see that my polish job is done. We've got a nice gloss on here. The paint's still pretty badly chewed up, but I'll tell you what, this is my birthday lantern, which is to say that the date on the bottom is the same as the month and year that I was born. And birthday lanterns play a special role for most lantern collectors like myself. So I got a good polish on what's left of the paint. I got a pretty good polish on the vent. Frame came out okay, it's pretty rusty around here. So let's start the reassembly. The first thing we need to do is put the fuel air tube into the valve. We want to make sure that the spring is on the bottom of the rod where it goes into the tube. The spring is going to push against the valve, so it has to be underneath. Tighten it on. Now, the threads here on the valve are tapered, and because they're tapered, we shouldn't have to have any sealant or anything. Though Coleman did use some sealant on here, and people get crazy, frankly, about the sealant on the fount. You could get away with nothing. I've used Teflon tape an awful lot, and it seems to work pretty well. Today I'm going to use Permatex #1, which is the fast-drying hard setting. The biggest reason people like to use a sealant is to ensure that they can index this guy wherever they want. Just a little dab will do you here, right on the bottom threads. And because it's a little dab, I'm using a toothpick. Add the collar. A note on the fuel cap, which I haven't really done anything to other than polish. This is a 1-piece fuel cap as opposed to a 3-piece fuel cap. If you go back in my videos, you've seen me change the gasket in one of these. The 1-piece gaskets don't fail as much as the 3-piece do, although they do occasionally, and I'll make a video on it at some point in the future. Put on the generator, and I soaked the generator, but I haven't really done anything exciting to it. If this is your first lantern rebuild, or maybe second, you might want to just buy a new generator if the one that was in there didn't work. 7/16 inch wrench here. If the one that's in there won't light up, or you have to turn the cleaning lever all the time, maybe you just want to buy a new one. If you're a seasoned professional at this, maybe you want to take a try at rebuilding it. So, set that aside for a moment. We're going to do the burner. It's really 4 pieces we're going to attach. The stud that holds the vent, this Venturi tube that goes in there, the U-tube, and the burner itself. A very common complaint with these 200A lanterns is that they smell. And the reason they smell is because of that joint right there between the Venturi and the U-tube. So what we're going to do, I have bought a bottle of tailpipe and muffler sealer, Permatex again, muffler mender in the parlance, and just put a little smear of this on this Venturi and stuff it in the hole. A little smear in the U-tube. I wasn't sure about this. I did it a couple weeks ago on another lantern, and it works a treat. This gap causes the smell. Before I put the U-tube down, I'm going to align the vent stud so it's in the right place, and then screw in the burner. Be careful here not to cross thread. Snug it up tight with the wrench on the nut. That'll make it easier to get it apart next time. Make sure everything's square on top. Yep, that looks pretty good. Remember that washer if you have it. And put this in place. And the important here to remember to align the generator with the hole in the air tube. It's a 200A. The generator has to go on first. On a 220, the generator goes on last. little nut that holds the burner assembly. I want to get this good and tight so that the burner doesn't move. The knob, I did wash the label off the knob. These are available, the directions discs. Make sure everything is tight, so this is a good time to go back to the generator. It's embarrassing to have the generator get loose. And lastly, the pump. Now, I haven't had to do anything with the pump. This one looks perfect. It's fantastic. If you have a pump that doesn't work, there's a couple options. Number one, you get yourself some neat's foot oil. This is absolutely the best stuff. I put it in a pill bottle like this. Just dip and soak for 5 minutes. Take it out, wipe off the excess. Works a treat. You might not have a leather pump cup on the one you have. It might be neoprene. Those are replaceable. You can buy the kits. We'll just fit that in. Down over the stem. Check valve works in this lantern. I didn't have to do anything there. If you encounter one with a bad check valve, you'll need a check valve tool. Maybe you can spray some stuff down there and get that to work. And the clippy. We're ready for a test fire. And I like to do a test fire with everything out in the open, so if something happens, we don't soot up the glass or the vent. A little bit fiery because of the wind. Sounds good. Vent on. And there's my little red lantern.